national units, and 5,000 international units would be a very safe place to start.
Okay, and then what month do you really feel they should?
You know, I would say really September through probably April for sure.
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt to take it year round, because think about it, a lot of people are working during the summer, and the time when you really can absorb vitamin D is between the hours of 11 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Sure.
So if you're working a regular shift, even if it's summer, you're probably not getting enough sunlight.
Right. Well, we only get our lunch. Some of us don't even get that much, but you know, you go out, you try to go for a walk, that's only an hour.
And the other piece, a lot of people are slathering up with the sunscreen, which I'm not saying don't do that, but then you're blocking those rays and you're not making vitamin D if you have sunscreen on.
Yes, and I know, you know, my family, they're very, very fair skin. And so they're afraid to get sunburnt. And it's like, well, let's just give you, you know, half hour, you know, and then let's put the...
And that's a great recommendation. You know, really, even 15 minutes out in the sun between the hours of 11 and 2 can do you a lot of good during the summer, and early spring.
Okay. Going back to, you know, children, preschoolers age, you know, I'd like to kind of talk about what we can do to help them. I know I pushed yogurt a lot, you know, in that sense to help my children, and they loved the flavors. We played with it a little bit, put little sparklies on top, and, you know, kind of made it a fun meal in that sense. But what do we do to help our preschoolers during the flu season? Because these are who we really care about, because it does hit them a lot harder. So what are your
And I have preschoolers, so that's right up my alley.
Oh, good.
And one of the first things that comes to mind, other than good nutrition, is to wash your hands.
Okay.
Can't wash hands enough. And then sleep. Sleep is huge. And I look at some of my friends and I look at some relatives too, and I see sleep kind of getting pushed to the side because you have two parents working, and you get home and you have laundry to do and extracurricular activities, and sometimes sleep gets to be at the bottom of the totem pole, and it really needs to be
that should be priority.
It needs to be priority for adults too, but especially for those little ones. So toddlers usually need 11 to 12 hours of sleep. That's including the nap during the day. And for adults, 8 to 9 hours of sleep is really a good thing to shoot for to really boost your immune system. When you sleep, that's when your body has time to repair itself. So if you're running on 5 and 6 hours of sleep a night, or your kids are only getting 8 hours of sleep a night and they're preschoolers, they're never having time to fully repair themselves, and that sets them up to get sick.
That brings me to another question, just that my husband and I were talking about. You know, we ended up on Saturday, we just sort of had a lot of downtime, and I went back and took a nap.
Wonderful.
You know, in the sense, and he said, oh, you might be getting too much sleep, and I said, nope, you never get too much sleep. I don't feel, because if your body wants to lay down and it's doing that, either you're fighting something off, and do allow it to do, because then you're more generated for yourself for the day and for the tasks you have to do in your family also involved too.
That's a great point. Don't leave out the naps. When you can get a nap in there, by all means take it. You know, like your husband said, you're getting too much sleep. I agree with you that no, your body is telling you something. If it's not that you're fighting off something, maybe you're catching up. Because if you've went for a period of days or weeks or years without enough sleep, you do need a little bit more than the average person to catch up and get back to that point where you need, say, only 8 to 9 hours.
Right.
So afternoon naps are great. You know, you look at other cultures, they typically do that.
Well, yes, in Germany, you know, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to go over there, but they actually almost shut down.
Yes, the shops closed because everybody's sleeping. I think that's great. I wish we did that here. They also have many more vacation days than we do. We run ourselves into the ground here, and that's certainly another piece of getting so sick. I'd love to get back to that.
Yes.
You know, I do want to mention, having us talk here about vitamin D reminds me of a couple other supplements. You mentioned that you take vitamin C for immune boosting if people are looking for some key supplements. And then another one that I often recommend is zinc.
Okay.
If you're not getting enough from food, maybe a supplement, but because we're a company that focuses on real food first, I do want to let the listeners know that your animal proteins are the best source of zinc. And when you look at those animal proteins like chicken, pork, fish, beef actually has by far the most zinc ounce for ounce. So don't be afraid of the red meat.
So I kind of want to take a step back into our farms and the actual nutrients value of our food. Do you feel that it's still up to standard, or has that declined?
I definitely would say that as we have gotten more global, certainly the nutrition in our foods has declined, because when you think of how far foods travel, for one, and every day that apple or that head of broccoli is on the truck, it's losing nutrients.
Oh, sure.
So the more miles it travels, the less nutrients it's going to have when it gets to your plate. Now, you mentioned the organic. I mean, I think there's a lot of wonderful reasons to choose organic if you can afford it. It sounds like your son was having the liver issues because the foods that weren't organic can often have a lot of antibiotic residues. They can have pesticide residues. And so your liver, being sort of the garbage can of your body, has to capture all of that. And sometimes we're just putting too much into it and loading it up too much. But even more so than organic, I like to talk about local when you ask the question about the nutrition of our foods, because when we can buy local, that's going to have more nutrition because it's fresh. It didn't have to travel very far to our plate.
Sure. Yeah, that's good to know. Okay, well, my daughter just came down with the N1 flu, and she was very, very afraid because she felt that, with the media and things like that. So she said she had a cold, was the way that she perceived it. So, of course, the first thing that I suggested is, of course, chicken soup.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, because I don't know, the generation passed down, the broth, all of that. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about if you really feel that chicken soup helps the cold or the flu.
Absolutely. Some people think that's an old wives' tale, but I think it's a great thing because you mentioned the broth. That's getting liquids. Because it's a broth-based soup, you're getting extra liquids into your body, and that's always good anytime you're sick, to flush out the bad bugs. And then there's usually carrots in chicken noodle or chicken type vegetable soup, and that has a lot of vitamin A, and we didn't talk about vitamin A, but that's another immune boosting vitamin. And then I mentioned zinc a while back, and the fact that that's found in your animal proteins. So chicken soup, there's your zinc.
Wow.
So zinc, A, some extra fluids, I think that's a wonderful idea. And it's funny you mentioned that because on our website we have a wonderful recipe. It's one of my favorite soup recipes for chicken wild rice soup.
Okay.
So if you go to our website at weightandwellness.com, there's that and many other good recipes on there as well that are good for your immune system.
Well, that sounds great. Well, of course, we've run out of time, so I'd like to invite you back.
I would love to come back.
That would be great. Okay, and we'll look forward to that.
Thank you.
So we've already run out of time, and thank you so much for joining us. And of course, it's been a pleasure having Cassie Waysmith on our show.
Thank you.
Thank you. And look forward to having you view other shows of Knowledge for Wellness. So I hope we have provided you more knowledge to benefit you and your loved ones. Until next time, be well, and goodbye.